You know, look. We talked about this on our show last night. Canada's not the enemy; China's the enemy, and we mustn't forget that. And I'm sure these negotiators won't forget that either. Whatever China says, you can almost bet they will break their word. This is not only true on trade; this is also true on fentanyl, which has caused great anguish to this country and anybody involved in that. I've said this anecdote before. I'll say it again. When we met at the G20 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, which was whenever it was, I think it was 2019. You know, we're all lined up. The U.S. on one side with the president, the Chinese on the other side with Xi. And the very first thing Donald Trump said to Xi was, can you stop the fentanyl trade? And would you invoke capital punishment for any Chinese involved in the fentanyl trade and the so-called precursors of fentanyl? And Xi right away said, yes, of course. Capital punishment will stop the trade. So he's lying through his teeth. And unfortunately, that's what they do. All right. Of the whole group that I met years ago, there were one or two genuine reformers who would keep their word. But they'd always be surrounded by a bunch of Chinese communist thugs who were sent around like minders, okay, to make sure nothing's, give away the family jewels, whatever that means. So, look, it's good that they're going to talk. I like that. I think the market will like that. The market's up last time I looked.
It is.
A good chunk today. I think this China stuff is more important than what Fed Chairman Powell is going to say or blather on. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, I reckon. I'm just saying it's a good thing, but it's not going to be a miracle. You're not going to get a deal. Any such thing. Look, it took us 2.5 years to get a phase one deal, which they then broke. So don't expect any miracles here. There are other countries on the list that are much closer. Scott Bessent also said in front of Congress, I think, that we could get a deal in the next week or two. So that's very positive.
Dagan.
Larry, I'm in the first hour.